Hey folks, I'm JC from One Shot Adventures, and today I'm going to give you an overview of the romantic, swashbuckling pirate adventure, the Siren Citadel. An adventure filled with action, mystery, and lots of ways to customize it to suit your role-playing group. But first, question for you. How many RPG adventures have you played where virtually all of the combat and action can be replaced by witty repartee, clever planning, and great role-playing? The Siren Citadel is one of those adventures. It kicks off by sending the PCs on a bold mission to lead a prisoner exchange, but then sends them off on a wild adventure to find a secret island citadel. But once they're at the Citadel, they discover that they're in the middle of a scandalous social event filled with unlimited romantic possibilities. Are you intrigued? Well, if you are, then get ready and strap yourself to the ship's mast, because there's a wave of spoilers about to hit in the Siren Citadel. The Siren Citadel is a free, swashbuckling adventure with versions available for 5th edition, GURPS, and Broken Compass. You can download it for free at oneshotadventures.com, and it also includes pre-generated characters, cool handouts, and virtual tabletop assets, so you GMs can get going without a lot of effort. While this adventure is designed as a one-shot, it has enough subplots and customization options that I find it usually takes 2 or 3 sessions to get my group through it. It just really depends on your group and how much they like to explore and roleplay as they go. There's also a ton of room to customize this adventure, and so you can tune it exactly to the type of action and adventure and role-playing that your players enjoy. The adventure is set in 1689, which would be the early days of the golden age of piracy. The PCs are all low-class scoundrels and pirates, which is actually really critical for a pirate adventure to feel like a pirate adventure. In fact, in a previous video, I talked about how one of the main differences between a fantasy adventure and a pirate adventure is that the PCs need to be underdogs, with all of society lined up against them, not great heroes who just wander the world and have the respect of everybody. You better listen to him, because you can't be a pirate if you be respected. It's just key to the whole genre. Everybody knows that. In fact, I have no respect at all. I've been trapped down here in Davy Jones' locker since the Broken Compass review. It must make me the best pirate in the world, don't you think? Yeah, my friend's still trapped down there in Davy Jones' locker, and I promised I'd let him out after this video, but we'll see. So the Siren Citadel kicks off with the PCs in a truly precarious state. Their ship sunk, they washed up on the island of St. Nevis, and they were immediately taken into custody by the very annoyed British governor, who is probably going to hang them in the morning. But this British governor has a problem that only scum like the PCs can handle for him. You see, the Caribbean at that time was really filled with lots of war and skirmishes and back and forth by the French and British. And recently, just a month or so ago, the French took the island of St. Kitts, which is right next door, and forced the British to retreat. It was really embarrassing for the British. But as a result, lots of important British citizens got left behind during that hasty withdrawal, including the governor's best friend, this ruthless, awful plantation owner that is so horrible that none of the governor's men will even agree to lift a finger to help free him. So, the governor's pleased that he has some disposable pirates who can handle a politically tricky prisoner exchange. And if they agree, well, the governor will not only agree not to hang them for piracy, but will even give them a small boat as a reward and tell them to get the heck out of the area. So this mission, which should be simple, is kind of a deal that the PCs can't easily refuse. I generally agree, because hang-ins, while good entertainment, are generally terrible RPG sessions. So the PCs are asked to take a small boat to the island of St. Kitts, visit Sandy Point town, and told to meet with a French official who can help arrange this prisoner exchange. They meet this Frenchman at a local tavern in Sandy Point town, which is kind of serving as his impromptu office, and he directs them to a sugarcane mill, which is a few miles away, where he thinks that this awful plantation owner, John Tibbets, is being held. This early scene in this tavern is a great opportunity to remind your players that they are pathetic underdogs. because not only are the Frenchmen here going to be rude to them, because after all, the French just conquered this island and they're probably in an uppity mood, but they're going to be especially rude to a party of sad English pirates who are lower class. And in this tavern, there are 3 fops who just live for mocking and ridiculing like anybody who's not like them. And these 3 fops, they're going to pop up later in the adventure here and there, but this is the first time the player is going to meet these guys, and they're going to antagonize the PCs. Their English heritage and their generally like poor sense of attire. And this is the part of these pirate adventures where I print out a list of like period insults and just hit the players full on the face with them, just full stop. There's a link in the description below, but some of these insults are just fantastic, and I guarantee you're going to leave your players a little floored by just how much of a jerk these fops are in this tavern.
So you need a list now, do ya? Well, you know, I've always heard that you're very kind to the animals, so why don't you give your face back to the gorilla?
Because this tavern is filled with French soldiers who really just don't want fights breaking out, and the fops are more interested in humiliating the PCs, not killing them, it's unlikely blades will be drawn here. The goal here is just to make the PCs feel a little embarrassed and just really hate these guys because they're going to come upon them later. With a little bit of negotiation, the PCs will be able to figure out where the French are keeping the high-value prisoners. They're at a sugarcane mill not too far away. So the PCs will head off into the island, and there they'll discover several French soldiers guarding several prisoners, including John Tibbets, the man they came to get. Now, there's also some chaotic surprises in store for the PCs at the sugar mill. Because first, it seems like this man that they came to retrieve, John Tibbets, has been such an awful and insulting person that the guards have gotten sick of him, and now they've got him tied up to the mill and they're torturing him. And not only that, but his like fellow POWs are cheering for them because they hate this guy so much. So he's just moments from having his like tongue burned out by a branding iron.
Ah, that's not a pirate torture. I can think of a dozen more terrible things, like listening to a jazz band that makes pained faces like when they play. Oh, that's torture.
Second, as the PCs move to intercede and either talk to the guards or save John Tibbets, which I really don't recommend, he's that much of a jerk, a blindfolded man comes charging over the hills on horseback, and he's in the fray and he's singing a song loudly and just charges the French soldiers recklessly. And naturally, this causes the French to panic, and the branding iron gets like thrown into the hay around the mill, and now the whole place is on fire. The French are reaching for the guns. John Tibbets is screaming. The POWs are stuck, and the PCs have a lot to deal with. This whole scene is what I like to call a plate spinning scene. I love doing this as a game master to my players. There are more problems than the PCs are available to solve, so they constantly have to prioritize and pay attention to what's going on. It's a really good trick. You should try using this sometime. Because here you have the French soldiers who think that they're being attacked. You have John Tibbets tied up while the place is burning down. You have the other prisoners to deal with. And you've got this crazy guy in the horse, and the players are not going to even know this guy's motivation. So I've run this adventure a few times, and this scene always plays out wildly differently because it's not clear to the players like what they should prioritize first. But really, there's only one thing that matters here: this mysterious blindfolded stranger on a horse, because he's the one that's going to continue the adventure onwards. So once the players have dealt with all this commotion and it's gotten settled down, the man on the horse will explain himself. His name is Richard Reeve, and he's in the middle of some kind of hazing ritual. He's on a quest to find something called the Siren Citadel, the hidden location of an annual contest that lets the bravest people claim 5 legendary diamonds, which can be won only through feats of daring do. And anyone who gets one of these diamonds just becomes rich and famous and kind of like a swashbuckling influencer of the era. To gain entry into the Citadel this year, contestants have to complete a series of ridiculous stunts, such as attacking French soldiers while blindfolded and singing a mildly inappropriate song. But Richard is a sincere guy, and he begs the PCs to help him on his quest. He's just not especially bright, and he just needs their help to find the Citadel from the clues that he has on this map now that he's done what he needs to do to get in there. By the way, at this point in the adventure, the hostage exchange just really stops mattering. It was just a means to get the players into the adventure and on the hunt for the Siren Citadel. Now, sometimes my players actually did the swap and set Tibbets back to the ship. Other times they let him just burn in the fire because he was really that awful, but he may come back later. Stay tuned, you'll see. The middle part of this adventure is a sort of scavenger hunt, where the PCs need to visit 3 sites on the island from Richard's map that give clues to where the hidden citadel actually is. However, at 2 of the sites, the PCs only discover like a big pile of marble rubble, as if statues were once there, but they've been smashed. But amidst the rubble, the players will find some words written on some of the stone pieces that seem to form some kind of clue to the location of the citadel. At the final site on the map, which is located like far up on a cliff in the middle of the island, the PCs will find their old friends, those 3 fops that from the tavern, the ones who just insulted them all the time. And these fops are here and they're like smashing this beautiful Roman-like statue and just arguing amongst themselves. It seems like these 3 men are also on the quest to find the secret citadel, and they're just like smashing all the clues so that nobody else can do it. Again, like the other encounters in this adventure, this scene can play out in lots of different ways. Your players could end up dueling the fops on the cliffside, like that scene out of The Princess Bride. Or they could intimidate or scare off the fops, or even just wait around till the fops get frustrated and leave and figure out the last clue by themselves. I've even had one group of players befriend the fops, thinking these guys are jerks, but they'd be good to have around in case something goes wrong. Anyway, you just have to remember that these fops are not violent thugs. They're just kind of like arrogant and want to win, but they're not going to draw swords and try to kill anybody unless that's absolutely the last resort. Finally, with all of the words from the various statues on the islands like reassembled, the players will find a riddle which reveals that the citadel is hidden at the center of the island behind St. Kitts' largest waterfall. And sure enough, when they get there, a cave behind the waterfall leads to a beautiful hidden sanctuary located in a mountain grotto. When they arrive, they're welcomed inside because here at the Siren Citadel is a secret and very scandalous event about to be held. And as they enter the Citadel, the PCs will find themselves surrounded by men and women from upper-class stations in life from all different countries. There's even a famous composer leading a symphony on the lawn at the Citadel, and all of these people are competing in some way for the diamonds. But the diamonds, as it turns out, are just a metaphor for a handful of noble men and women who fled their entitled lives to find a romantic partner that they can truly love. Don't forget, this was the era where marriages were all arranged, and so these diamonds, these 5 men and women just said, screw that, I want to find the perfect romantic love for myself. And so, kind of like the pirate version of The Bachelor, these men and women have been secreted away to this secret citadel where worthy paramours who also believe in true love are going to compete for their attention with love letters, dances, and songs. And now the PCs are right in the middle of this fabulous contest.
Does this adventure have kissing? Ugh, do we have to hear the kissing part?
Maybe just a little. Anyway, the last part of this adventure is the contest for these diamonds, and it's very open-ended. There are many suitors for each of the diamonds, from the dashing and deserving to ones that really just need to be thrown out of the place because of how awful and rude they are. But here there are friends to be made, rivals to be gotten. There are even opportunities for mischief. For example, one of the suitors takes a bath every day in the nude, and another suitor who doesn't like him asks the PCs to secretly drop a bucket of electric eels into the pond to create some entertainment for the others and embarrass this guy in front of the diamonds themselves. Ultimately, the PCs can choose to take sides in this contest or even compete in the contest for one of the diamonds that catches their eye, in which case they'll have chances to impress their paramour with dancing and poetry writing and lots of other feats of the heart. Again, this part of the adventure is just all about those non-combat skills and social skills and role-playing and just cleverness. Like, how do I catch the attention of somebody that I think is really fantastic? But regardless of the PC's individual interests and what they want to do around this contest, the masked master of ceremonies, the master of harlequins, who's sort of the host of this whole event, he very discreetly reaches out to the PCs with a secret note to meet him in the middle of the night because he has an urgent request. Alas, one of the diamonds has mysteriously disappeared. They're holed up in their own little private pad here in the Citadel. One night, just one of them was gone. And obviously this is highly suspicious. Where would this person have gone? And if it's discovered, well, it could ruin the entire event. So the PCs, being newcomers and again kind of being more disposable because they're underdogs, are urged to go investigate. Now the way the adventure is written, the diamond that disappears is entirely up to the GM. Ideally, if one of your players has fixated on one of the diamonds, that's the one that vanishes, giving the PCs an opportunity for a rescue attempt and a grand romantic gesture. But again, the adventure gives a few different options depending on what your players like. After some investigation around the Citadel, the PCs will discover that there's actually a network of caves underneath the place, and that's where the diamond has somehow disappeared into. Now, this causes the PCs to venture into these dark tunnels to quickly find this lost diamond before the contest comes to an end and his or her disappearance is noticed. Inside these flooded caves, they're kind of inspired a little bit by the Goonies, so there's traps to solve and puzzles to find, and there's even a giant blind cave squid in case your PCs are just hankering for some action or a straight up fight here. But if your players are more into the role-playing and the puzzle solving, you can just cut out the giant squid, just like another poor cut octopus scene.
Well, as somebody who's been trapped here in Davy Jones' locker for months, I find that octopus terrifying.
In the end, I'm sure your players will eventually recover the poor stranded diamond, who greatly appreciates the rescue. As to why the diamond disappeared, again, it's very customizable by the GM, and there's a few suggested options that range from maybe it was a quick bout of cold feet over the whole contest, or sheer boredom for just hanging out sequestered all day with the other diamonds. Again, it's not a huge deal. This wasn't a person who was in mortal danger. It was just somebody who got nervous or bored and just fled into these tunnels. But there's one more twist, because just as the PCs are heading back out of the caves, just in time to make the final ceremony where the diamonds are going to pick their lifetime partners, they discover something's gone wrong. The Citadel has been discovered by scoundrels who don't belong there. It's been taken over, and now someone nefarious is planning on capturing the diamonds and ransoming them back to their families. Now, who this person is, again, just entirely depends on how the adventure played out. The most likely candidate is that vile, awful plantation owner, John Tibbets, the one that maybe escaped from the fire back at the sugar mill or disappeared along the way. Or if the players abused those three fops a lot, they could be back determined to finally get revenge. Or maybe it's the famous pirate that the adventure alludes to lurks in the area. Again, GMs should tune the end of this adventure based on what has happened before in the plot, and also what your players kind of like. Either way, the conclusion of this adventure challenges the PCs to retake the Citadel. Now, my players have always done this with a burst of swashbuckling bravery, dueling on the buildings and inside the gazebo on the lake where the weddings are going to be held, with their romantic interests watching with suspense. But actually, the last time I ran this, I had a player who said, "Let's not fight. This adventure's about love." And he gave a grand speech to the would-be conquerors in that gazebo, challenging them to let love and romance win the day and not greed, and to live in peace. And they just did this amazing speech and rolled this amazing leadership role and inspired everybody. And I said it all worked. And it ended with this epic speech, not with a combat. So finally, the adventure ends with the diamonds picking their bachelors and bachelorettes, multiple weddings, and a giant celebration. So that's the Siren Citadel, an adventure designed to make players feel like romantic and brave swashbucklers and not dirty dozen fantasy heroes. Would this kind of adventure work for your group? Or does your group just really love those bloody battles in every session? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to know if you folks want more adventures like this, or if you played or ran in this adventure and have a story to tell, also please let me know. In any case, remember that you can download this adventure for free at oneshotadventures.com. Well, until next time, I'm JC, and just remember, always check the bath for electric eels.
Excuse me. Didn't he promise to let me free after this? Hello, can you get him back? Like,